Dr. Stephen Dias. Today I have come up with a session on sustaining breastfeeding. In this session, I'm going to cover three topics. Right from the start, I'll be covering how to go about with the breastfeeding, what are the things, what are the care that you need to take, and further, we are going to discuss how to sustain the milk production and how to sustain the feeding process. So let's get started with this session. First and foremost, it is very important to understand the breast structure. Now, when we talk about the breast structure, what is visible from the outside world is just the nipple and the areolar region. Because I'm going to make a reference to many of the internal structures in this presentation, I thought of briefing you about this. So I'm going to talk about something called as a lactiferous ducts. So these are basically the ducts that are going to carry your milk supply. There are going to be lobules. There are going to be mammary glands which are responsible for the production of the milk. And the major part of your breast will be contributed by the subcutaneous fat. So the important area that we are going to discuss here is about the mammary glands responsible for the production of the milk, the lactiferous ducts responsible for carrying the milk supply, and ultimately all this lactiferous duct ultimately joins near your areolar region, and ultimately the milk is ejected from the nipple. Having understood this breast structure, now let us go and see the stages of the milk production. So once a particular baby has delivered, the first particular milk that is being produced is called as colostrum. Now, this is basically yellow in color. It may not look exactly like the particular milk in its color component and also in terms of its texture. And this particular colostrum, it is produced in very less quantity, and second thing, it is also produced in a very less amount of time. And it is very vital for a mother to give this particular colostrum to a newborn because it has a lot of nutritional component, and also it provides antibodies which helps the baby to fight against most of the infections. Because by this time the baby is exposed to the external environment wherein it is more susceptible to different infections. So it helps to strengthen the immunity of the child. At the same time, it also provides a good nutritional component to the child. That's why it is very important that once you deliver, within couple of hours, you latch the baby to your breast and try to give this colostrum to the baby. It may be produced for 1 day time or even less than that. After that, you go to the next stage that is called as transitional milk. Now this particular milk basically starts from your third particular day to the fifth day, and ultimately your colostrum is replaced by transitional milk. Again, the texture wise and the color wise, this particular milk will differ. So it will be basically like an orange color juice that is mixed with a milk. So whatever color that you can see the combination, this particular milk will be somewhat in that stage, and it is also produced for a limited period of time. But definitely the production, the number of days that you may be holding the transitional milk will be more than compared to the colostrum. And although I mentioned it as 3 to 5 days, it may vary from person to person and also based on what kind of delivery that you had. Right? Then comes the matured milk. Now, when we talk about matured milk, it is the actual milk that you are going to feed the baby throughout the particular breastfeeding period. And usually the woman tends to start producing this particular milk around the 10th day. Or in some women, it may take as long as 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and so on. And in this particular milk is somewhat like a normal milk. It is thinner compared to your transitional milk and colostrum. And definitely, this is the milk with which the baby is going to be sustaining for at least initial 6 months, and then over a period of time, as long as you continue your feeding. Now, when a mother is going to feed the mature milk in her entire span, there are particular chances at some point of time a mother may go through a problem called as engorgement. It is like you feel your breast has become very hard, like a rock hard. And it is common, and at some point of time a woman is going to go through this process. Many times a woman has these engorgement problems quite often. And there are also cases wherein a woman hardly notices this particular problem in her breastfeeding period. But since it is most of the common type, I had highlighted it, and later we are going to also discuss based on that. Now, when we talk about nursing, when we talk about breastfeeding, the first and foremost very important part that a mother has to take into account is she has to have a lot of patience. She needs to put in a lot of efforts. I can understand that her physical body is at a challenging stage after going through the pregnancy, and that particular period is also critical wherein a mother itself is recovering. But at the same time, it is equally important for a mother to also put in efforts, have patience. You require a lot of support from your family or from your spouse, and a combined effect of all these things is going to make your breastfeeding process a successful task. So having patience and putting in effort is an important thing, because there are many things that comes into account when you are going to go about breastfeeding, and to follow the things in place it takes time. In some women it may happen as early as 2 weeks. In some women it may take months. So that's why you need to have a lot of patience. And as I say, is if you latch the baby properly to your breast, then about 60 to 70% of the problem is solved there itself. If the baby can latch properly to your breast, then majority of your problem is solved there itself. Now we are going to discuss a little bit about how you can prepare yourself and the baby to latch properly. Very first is you be in a comfortable position. Get yourself comfortable in a position before you take the baby for feeding. You need to try out which positions are comfortable for you. I'm going to discuss some of them, but you need to explore more and more positions and then try to find out a couple of positions in which you are comfortable. Next, very important is line it up. The very important point is your baby and your tummy should touch each other. There should be a contact between your tummy and the baby's tummy. Okay. Now to achieve this particular contact, you may take the help of the pillow, or you can elevate the baby so that the baby reaches your nipple area. But very important is tummy to tummy contact is a must when you are going for feeding. Next comes is guide the baby into place. Many times I've seen that a mother leans towards the baby when she is doing the feeding. That should not be the case. The baby should lean towards you rather than you leaning towards the baby. So that is very, very important. Okay. So guide the baby into a place and let the baby lean towards you rather than the other way around. This is very critical. Next thing that comes is you need to know that sucking and sulking are different. Many times the baby latch to your breast, it sucks for some period of time, it extracts the milk, and then it latches, but it is not sucking. Okay, you can get the sulking sound. So it is very important for the mother to know when the baby is actually extracting the milk and for what amount of time, although the baby has latched to a breast, but it is not sucking. So in that respect, try to identify this pattern of sucking. So once the baby has sucked something, it is going to swallow the milk and then it is going to breathe. So try to identify this pattern. It may not happen overnight. It may not happen in a couple of feeding thing that you start with. Okay. So over a period of time, be observant. Try to observe this kind of the features in your child, and that will help you to understand the pattern of your child in a better way. Sometimes what happens is you say that my baby has latched to me for about 30 to 40 minutes, right? Because it is not possible for baby to suck for all 30 or 40 minutes. The baby will suck for 3 or 4 minutes. Then it just will start to pain. It will take some little bit of rest. Again, it will continue after some time. Fine. It is equally important that when you know that a baby is not sucking after latching in the initial phase, don't try to unlatch. Let the baby remain like that. And once you know that over a period of time that the baby had enough particular milk, then the baby will tend to also give you the signal, and that time you need to carry out unlatching process. This has to be kept into mind. So you need to understand when the baby is sucking and when it is sulking. Next thing is when and how to feed. Usually we recommend that in the initial stage you feed the baby after 2 hours, or when the baby cries. It could be an indicator that a baby is hungry, right? Second thing is there could be also many reasons why the baby can cry. It is not always that the baby cries because of hunger. It could be gastric related problems. It could be colic problems, which are quite common in the initial stage. So there could be a variety of reasons why the baby is crying. But you can give it an attempt to latch the baby to a breast. If the baby calms down, then you are sure that the baby was crying because of the hunger. But if the baby continues or is not trying to latch, then the reason could be something else. Fine. Next thing is how to feed. So one thing you can do is you can rub the cheek of the baby with your either finger or the nipple just to stimulate it. Now this will come into picture when the baby is sleeping and you want to do the feeding process, or sometimes when the baby is awake or in the initial stage when you want to guide the baby towards your nipple. This is also can be used as an indicator so that baby knows where is the source of the food. That is nothing but ultimately the nipple and the areolar region. So it can be done during that time as well. Then when a particular baby is not getting much milk in the beginning, it is very important that you latch the baby. In the initial stage after pregnancy, maybe immediately after giving a birth, when you try to latch the baby, or maybe for initial couple or 2-3 days, even after latching the baby, you may not be producing a milk or you may not be ejaculating the milk. So it is very important to latch the baby. I am going to talk about a cycle because once the baby starts sucking, it sends the signals to your brain. And in your brain, there are some glands, endocrine glands. They tend to release 2 different types of hormone. Okay, one hormone will help the muscles of your breast to soften, and it will ultimately help to release the milk. And the other kind of hormone that will be released, which will be responsible for the production of the milk. So this cycle inside a mother has to be triggered. And for triggering of this cycle, definitely a latching is a must. Even if you are not releasing the milk, this latching will help to streamline this cycle, and then most of the things will fall in place. Second thing, in the initial stage, you may be the entire latching process, then a baby feeding may take about 40 to 45 minutes or even more than that. That's why you need to have patience. You need to put in efforts. Of course, along with the support of the family members as well, because this is a challenging task. You are teaching the baby how to latch and how to extract the milk. Once this thing falls in place, then the things will be streamlined. So once the baby has worked out that once a baby has learned where is the source of the milk, right, through proper coordination and through proper latching, then as I said, the things will fall in place. And then you may carry out the feeding for 20 minutes, 30 minutes based on the requirement of the baby. Because now the baby knows how to latch properly, where is the source, and how to extract the milk. And internally your cycle has also triggered. And then probably, or in most of the cases, the feeding time tends to come down. Then, second problem that may also occur is something like this. I would like to take two cases. One wherein in a woman, her both the breasts are producing enough milk to sustain the baby's requirement. Then what a mother can do is, in one session, she can feed on one breast. And in the second session, that is after 2 or 2.5 hours, you can put him on the other breast and do it alternatively. Second case wherein the woman feels that one of her breast is producing more milk compared to the other. So in that case, once you are supposed to feed a baby or the baby starts crying because of hunger, you try to latch it to the breast which is producing more milk, so that by extracting the milk, the baby will calm down, her hunger requirement will also come down, and then gradually towards the end you can switch over the baby to the other breast. And then since your other breast is producing less milk, let the baby take that whatever less milk that has been produced. But don't stop the baby from latching into the breast which is producing less milk. The moment you stop latching the baby to the breast, the signal goes to the brain. And if the baby is not latching, that trigger cycle is not activated, then ultimately your milk supply will come down. The release of the hormones will come down, which will affect your milk supply. So do latch your baby to both the breast irrespective of the amount of milk that they produce. This is what I want to convey. Now, how to overcome engorgement? Okay, I had mentioned engorgement before. So what is an engorgement is basically you feel your breast has become like a very hard, rock hard. Now if you see here, this is a normal breast. So these are mammary glands, this is luciferous ducts, and this is areola and the nipple area. But when it is engorged, definitely there is some sort of an inflammation occurring in your mammary glands. And that can trigger all these particular mammary glands, and you may feel that your breast has become very hard. Sometimes it is painful as well. So what are the easy way to overcome this problem? First, you need to be relaxed. Don't get hyper, don't get depressed, thinking that you are not able to feed your baby. Okay, so you need to stay cool. The easy good thing that you can do is you can keep a ice pack, a bag of frozen peas in your ice tray, and whenever you are about to feed, about half an hour or 15 to 20 minutes prior to it, you can keep it on your breast. Okay, so that will help you to relax the muscles over there, lessen the particular pain, and you can continue feeding your particular baby. This is one method. Other methods are you tend to take a particular warm shower, let the warm water pass over your breast area, so you will feel little bit of softening of the tissues over there. Third thing is express yourself. Try to press your breast and express the milk yourself. Now why this is very important is when the baby is going to suck, you don't have the control over the rate at which the baby is going to suck, the pressure that the baby is going to apply, and the pressure that you can sustain, because there are chances that you may be feeling the pain. That's why before feeding, about 15 to 20 minutes, when you are engaging in any one of these first or second activity, try to express the milk. So you know that how much amount of pressure you can sustain. And the very important thing is, even if you are in this engorgement phase, do latch the baby and do feed the baby. Because I already told you, if you stop it, the other cycle will stop. Second thing, it is also easy way to overcome this engorgement. Okay, so do always latch the baby irrespective of the problems. Other thing that you can do is lie down. So when you're relaxing, try to lie down with your stomach touching the bed. So lie down on your stomach so that what happens is due to the gravity effect, okay, the pain can also get reduced. So when you are lying down on the bed, try to spread your breast on both the sides in outward direction. So due to the gravity effect, definitely many women tend to find that the pain is getting reduced by just lying down and doing one of this particular previous method. So these are easy ways that you can do to come out of the engorgement. Very effective ways, can be easily done without the intervention of the particular doctor. And at some point of time, definitely you are going to be in this phase. Now, as I said, once you latch the baby, your most of the particular work is done. Once the latching is established properly, your 60 to 70% of the task is completed. So we are going to spend some time on what is a perfect latch. So if you see this diagram, this is the correct latching position and how to establish this position. First and foremost, what is important is the baby's lower lip should touch your areola region or your breast. Okay, so try to understand the sequence. First and foremost, the baby's lower lip should touch the breast or your areola region. Once that is done, the baby is going to open the mouth. If the baby is not opening the mouth, you little bit do the tickling with the nipple. So the baby ultimately starts opening the mouth. Once the baby mouth opens the mouth, try to slowly insert your nipple inside. A part of the areola may also go inside based on the size of your areola and also the opening of the mouth of the baby. And further, then let the upper lip of the particular baby rest on the areola. This is the correct latch position. Try to teach your child right in from the beginning this position. It may not happen in 2-3 attempts. More sooner you teach the child this, more sooner you are going to come out of the problems. So follow the sequence. Again, I am repeating. Touch the lower lip. Let the baby open the mouth. Slowly insert the nipple along with a part of areola. And then let the particular upper lip rest on the breast. This is the correct position. So sequence goes like this. First is this touching, opening of the mouth, slowly introducing the nipple inside, and then the resting. So this is very important. This is how the proper latching has to be done. Now, so the sequence I mentioned here, A, B, C, and D. Okay. Now, why doing a dip latch is very important. So if you see now, if with a proper latch, your nipple will be somewhere here. And when the baby is sucking, definitely these are the muscles that are contracting. So baby, whatever the force that the baby is applying, the full force can be applied to extract the milk. So with the amount of force baby is putting in, the baby is also trying to get the amount of milk that can be extracted. So if this continues properly, then definitely you may require the feeding to be done for less time, because within that time frame the baby is going to extract maximum milk and its hunger will be satisfied. So once this thing continues, your breastfeeding particular time may come down by some amount. Okay, but if this is not done properly, then baby may put in a lot of effort, but it may not get the required milk. So have a proper latch that will solve most of the problem, and it's a win-win situation for the baby as well as for you. Now, this is what I was talking about. Why early latching or why is very important is, as I had said, I will not go into details of it again. it sends a signal to your brain, and there is a hypothalamus, and under it there is something called as a pituitary gland. So in turn, once this particular sucking process starts, it sends the signal to your hypothalamus. The hypothalamus in turn generates two types of hormone. One is called as oxytocin, which is responsible for ejection of the milk. So it helps to soften the muscles of the breast and helps to eject the particular milk. And the other one is prolactin, that is responsible for production of the milk. So these are the two hormones that are released by your body when this latching process and the sucking process starts. That's why, as I said, it is very important that always you latch your baby, even if your breast is producing less milk. Okay. So here is the same slide what I had said. So one more thing that apart from the thing that I discussed that you need to take care is when your baby is latching on the breast, see to it that the nose is not covering the breast. There is a particular gap between the nose and the breast. Fine. So before I said, you will look out for the pattern suck, swallow and breath. So over a period of time, you can observe the breathing is happening or not by just filling the air over here, because the baby is going to breathe only from the nose at this point of time. So you can establish that breathing pattern here. You see to it that the nostrils are not covering with your breast area. So you need to take care of it. And you can control the movement. I mean, if it is covering through this hand, you can control. Over a period of time, you can also guide the baby by just little bit pressing your breast so that it helps the baby in getting more milk when the baby is also putting the effort of sucking. So by pressing, you are getting the milk which is produced in the mammary glands more closer towards the baby mouth. So this is very important. Next is what are the feeding positions. So there are many feeding positions that have been put up. I have just tried to put 4 of them. One is reclining position, wherein you can sit in a reclining position, say 45 degrees or 60 degrees. Okay, then try to get the baby and then establish the latching process. This is more effective also at night because you get a better hold of the baby in this position, because both of the hands can be used to hold the baby. And usually at night when you are also in a sleeping position, baby is also half sleeping. So that time this particular position is also useful. You can also try it at the particular daytime. There is no restriction for it. So this is reclining position. Only take the due care that you keep one of your hand little bit flexible to hold the baby neck, because the neck of the baby is not yet stiff. So while sucking, there are chances that it may just shift to one side. So you just keep it as a backup, as a support. You need not hold it, but just in due care can be taken during this time. Next one is cradle hold. So definitely in both this position, as I said, tummy to tummy contact is a must. In this also, if you see, there is a tummy to tummy contact. Second thing is, you see that the position of the baby is little bit inclined. The head is in upward direction compared to the lower part of the baby. You can control the neck of the baby by using one hand, and the other hand can now be used as an additional support. If required, this particular hand can also be used to control the neck. Don't hold the neck, just in case required, it can be provided as a support. So cradle position is quite common. You can do it in a sitting position, either on a chair or on a bed. But first and foremost, what is important is get yourself in a comfortable position, get all the pillows, whatever thing that you require, and then get the baby to feed. This is very important. We have one more variation of the cradle hold called as cross cradle position. So in this, if you see that you are taking the help of one of the hand and is supporting the neck of the baby. This can be also used to guide the baby towards your nipple, right? to establish a proper latching scenario, and with the other hand, you are particularly supporting the head of the baby. So proper guidance in the initial stage which is required can be done also through cross cradle position. So this is also a good position. Next one is a football position. So wherein you are holding the baby like a football in one hand. So in this position, the more pressure comes on one hand because the entire body of the baby is supported by one hand, and through the other hand you can guide the baby. Okay, so this can be done in even in the standing position, and so these are four positions which are very common and can easily be done. That's why I highlighted them. There are many other positions which are also been highlighted, like a sleeping position, but I always advise my patients not to feed the baby in a sleeping position, at least for initial 6 months, because of the two reasons. There are many cases wherein the woman has not followed it, the mother has not followed the procedure correctly, and that has resulted in the milk being descending into the windpipe, and that has created more complications. Second thing, the stiffness of the neck is not that established. No matter it is a comfortable position to feed the baby at night or in a sleeping position, but it is not advisable. If you ask me as a doctor, I don't recommend it, although that there is of course a lot of debate going on that position, but my personal opinion is not to try it for a baby at least for 6 months. Then you can take up the call, but still my opinion would be to avoid that position altogether. Now, as I said, when the baby is hungry, it is one of the most likely reason why the baby may cry. So the baby will start giving you the cues. The initial cues, the thing that you will see that the baby is staring at one thing or staring at you. Okay, it's opening the mouth like this. It's turning the head, searching for something, right? That could be an indicator that the baby is hungry. If you neglect this, then the stretching, the baby may stretch the particular hands or the body. You may find that its physical movements have increased. It will try to put the particular finger in the mouth. That could be an indicator also that the baby is hungry. And even if you miss it, then the baby will start crying loudly. Fine. So these are some of the signs that a baby shows that the baby is hungry. It's not necessary that all the signs will be shown. Each baby is different. Its pattern is different. So you as a mother has to be observant enough to identify these patterns. Now, what care you need to take after feeding? The first and very foremost is you need to burp your baby after every feed, irrespective of the time and irrespective of the amount of the feed the baby has taken. And at least do this process for about 10 to 15 minutes, irrespective whether it is a daytime or nighttime or middle of the night. So some of the positions through which you can do the burping is this: first, second, third. First is idealistic at night because the baby is almost in a sleeping position. Second and third you can try out also during a daytime when baby is little bit awake. Okay, slightly pat over the back. In the first one, give it a good support at the bump area, slightly pat over the backs. It should be in a slow pattern. See to it that the baby's neck is, the chin is resting on your shoulder. Fine. Also, sometimes you may feel that the baby is throwing out the excess milk. That is also normal. So after this process, you may feel that the baby is throwing out some of the milk that it has taken. That is normal. Fine. So this process, the burping process, has to be done after every feed, irrespective of the time. This ensures that you are preventing the gastric related problems, colic related problems to some extent from developing inside the baby. Other thing apart from it, you can also massage your baby. This is not immediately after the feed, but after 1 or 2 hours that has passed out, and if the baby is when the baby is awake, you can massage the baby. Massage the back slowly. Okay, you can massage little bit the forehead, the head part, the tummy, okay, the legs, hands, slowly bend it. Okay, sometimes you can use little bit of the baby oil. Okay, but if you find that the baby is getting rashes or any blisters, then avoid using the oil. Also there are cases that many times some particular woman comes to give a bath to a baby, and then she applies a lot of oil, then do a lot of stretching that is not required. Okay, you as a mother can take care of your baby in a much better position. You can do this activity comfortably at the time when the baby is comfortable, rather than switching over the time of that lady who comes to do this activity. So as far as this is concerned, there are a lot of questions that have been also asked in the group pertaining to it. Most of the things are myths. A mother is good enough with some basic knowledge, and with this picture, definitely any mother should be in a position to do a massaging of the baby. And it is very important because it will also help to release the gas that is being produced. It will help to particular get rid of the colic related problems, and so massaging you can do it fine, but not immediately after the feed. You can do it during a daytime or any time when the baby is awake. Now so far we have seen about how to carry out the latching, what are the positions, what to do after feeding. Now we come back to the topic like a mother should prepare her body so that it is producing enough amount of milk. And for that, the very important thing is you need to have a proper food. So first and foremost, the mother needs to drink plenty of water to keep herself well hydrated, because in that milk about 60% of it is a water. So you need to have yourself well hydrated when you are producing the milk. You need to have it balanced diet, okay, which will have good components of calcium, proteins, the grains, and a combination of fruits and vegetables. Try to have more of vegetables than the fruits, but of course you can have a good quantity of the seasonal fruits as well. That will help to improve your milk supply. You also try to incorporate healthy fats that can be found in a fish. Okay, try to explore the fish available in your area, the fresh fish, not the tame one, and try to find out the fish that are less in mercury. You tend to eat it more. You can also have eggs in your particular diet. You can also take omega-3 fatty acid supplements that I will come back in a later stage. So these are some of the care that a mother should take so that she is producing good amount of the milk. There are many products that have been highlighted in the market to boost the production. I don't recommend them. A good healthy diet, a good exercise is what you need basically to produce a good amount of milk. And every mother is capable of producing the milk. Next thing is don't skip prenatal vitamins. Your doctor will be prescribing some iron tablets, calcium tablets, then the vitamin B12, D tablets. So don't skip those. You need to take them. Then when we talk about breastfeeding, okay, when you are continuing breastfeeding for a very long period of time, then there are chances that you may find the breastfeeding painful. And it could be because of many reasons. And because of the pain, sometimes some women tend to stop feeding the baby and then switch over to the other formulated milk. Again, I would like to highlight one more point here is sometimes when the mother is not producing enough milk, then we switch over to the formulated milk. So whenever you are doing feeding a baby in one session, don't try to mix the milk. That is, don't initially give 10 minutes from your breast and then immediately give give the particular formulated milk in a bottle. Fine. What you can do rather is, if you feel that you are not producing enough milk, then you can take a gap. In one session or two sessions, you feed the baby by using formulated milk. And in the third session, that is, each session may comprise of 2 or 2.5 hours gap. In the third session, then you can latch the baby on your breast and do the feeding. But in a single session, don't try to avoid mixing the milk. Okay, so sometimes that care you need to take. And then I was talking about this point. Sometimes because of the pain, the woman switch over from the breast milk to the formulated milk. So what are the possible reasons that you may get a pain? The first and foremost is called as mastitis. It occurs because of the inflammation, and it is basically because of the infection that occurs inside your breast. And because of it, that your breast is inflamed and that causes a lot of pain. So if you see these particular pictures, what is the indicator that you have mastitis? Usually it occurs in the initial phase when you might be producing your transitional milk, okay, and maybe also in the early stages it is more common. So as I said, there are lactiferous ducts that are connected to your nipple internally. So when you try to press it, you may feel that a milk is coming out from different sources or different points. Now if you see this particular milk in this picture, this can be probably a particular transitional milk, okay, because it is little bit orange and milky in color. But now if you see this point, it is like a pus, okay, that is caused because of infection. So if you observe this kind of things, it could be an indicator that there is mastitis. Along with that, there will be also pain. On the other hand, if you see this picture, this is also a woman having this problem. So you see that a major part of the breast has become red and it has swollen. It has inflammation. So that is because of this. Do continue feeding. That will help you also to come out of it. Any problem that you see in the feeding, do not stop feeding. It is continuing feeding is also kind of a remedy to come out of that problem. And the particular problem that you may find is the milk duct itself are blocked. So you feel a lot of pain, you feel a lot of redness, okay, and you're not able to, the baby is not able to extract the milk. Fine. So the remedy to it is you can take the hot particular bath over the breast. That will help you to lessen it. Continue feeding it, because feeding is only the mechanism through which the blockage can be eliminated. Okay. So these are the particular symptoms of a blocked milk. So if you see this, unlike in the mastitis wherein the entire breast was red, here you may find it localized in one particular area, because one or couple of the lactiferous duct might be blocked, may not be all of them. Fine. So it is more confined. And if you press that particular line or something like that, where lactiferous duct is, you may feel little bit pain, and the remaining part of the breast, there might not be any pain, or there might be not be any issues. This picture also indicates, if you see this area, it is an indicator of a blocked duct. Okay, so wherein there will be little bit of redness around that area, not the entire breast. You may feel the pain over there. So it is an indicator that it is being blocked. Do continue with the feeding, and slowly the blockage will be eliminated. Other problem is soreness or the cracking of the nipple. So when a baby is not latching properly, this is more common when the baby has not latched properly. You tend to get cracked nipples or sore nipples. Okay, you can take hot compress. Okay, then if required, you can apply a little bit artificial nipple. You get that snatchet available. and through that the baby can suck. So, but do continue feeding. This may take about, if there is a cut or if there is a discharged milk, the blood that is coming out, it may take about a week time or so to overcome it. There are many creams that are available, okay, glycerin and all the other particular creams that can also be applied, which will help you to overcome this in a better way and more fastly. But do continue feeding even if you have all these problems. So I have highlighted some of the common problems that you may come across. Of course, there are many more, but these are the most common ones that many women encounter. That's why I highlighted them. Next very important point is, don't get overly anxious about your milk supply. Many women are anxious. They feel that they are not producing enough milk for their baby. They tend to compare how many times some of their relatives or friends who are also in the same phase are doing the feeding, and so on. Try to understand that each baby is different, the intake capacity of each baby is different, and each mother is different, and each mother's ability to produce the milk is also different. What you can simply do is count the diapers or the nappies. And if somewhere or the other, if it satisfies this particular criteria, that means your baby is getting enough amount of feed. Okay. Next thing, check for fuzziness. Right? Sometimes you have the intention that the baby should be fed after 2 hours. Your friends may tell, your in-laws may tell, your mother may tell, and so on. It is not necessary that after every 2 hours the baby needs to be fed. The baby itself will give the signs when it is hungry. And as I said, the baby may not cry all the time because of hunger also. So overfeeding is definitely not recommended, and definitely underfeeding will never happen, because if you see, the baby itself is going to respond whenever it's hungry and you are going to feed it. But avoid overfeeding it. Sometimes when you overfeed, the baby become more fuzzy. Fine. So sometimes the baby, if it is not latching, then try to adopt the strategy like tickling the particular lips of the baby with a nipple and so on, so that the baby is able to latch. Sometimes the babies are also very intelligent. You may feel that they are very small, but they have ample amount of intelligence and learning capability. Sometimes initially what happens is, if your latching is not proper, the baby puts in lot of effort to suck the milk. It is not getting it. So the baby also gets frustrated. And the next subsequent times when you try to latch it, it doesn't want to latch, because it thinks that it is not going to give it then enough amount of milk in comparison to the effort that it has put in. The baby can understand this. That's why try to help the baby to latch properly. So as I said, proper latch will benefit both of you. So that is very important. Then every time when you are going to visit your pediatrician, make sure that the pediatrician checks the baby with the vital parameters like the weight of the baby. So that will be an indicator in comparison to what rate the baby is growing. Other parameters the pediatrician will check like the head circumference, abdominal circumference, the weight, right? And all the other particular things, normal thing that comes. See to it that your pediatrician checks it and is noted down in the file of the baby. Also follow the immunization schedule, which is very, very important. And it's to be given at the right time. Now, what should be the mother's diet? This is asked by me, by many of the mothers. I have highlighted some of the foods that can provide you this source. Some of the food sources are providing multiple nutritional values. So I try to highlight what is more important is vitamin B1, B2, B6, B12, and I listed down some of the food items that provides you those vital nutrients. It is not necessary that you need to have it on the same day, but say to it that in a particular 1 week time, you try to include this in your diet. So there are many of them. Some of them you may be getting through the multivitamin supplements that the doctor has prescribed you, but it is not good to keep your body on the supplements for a long period of time. So that's why through the food also you need to see that you are equally replenishing those requirements to produce the enough quantity of milk. So these are some of the items that will provide you vitamin A, D, selenium, iodine. Try to have iodized salt. Okay, try to have seafood, wheat, whichever is available at your place. Try to have this combination that is going to provide you a lot of nutrients to produce good amount of milk. And if you have this, there is no need of any taking any external particular uh, products that are available which are claiming to stimulate the milk production. So, if you ask me frankly, I don't recommend any products, but to have a good balanced diet, keeping yourself hydrated is a must. Try to have folate, and that will also help you to improve your iron supplements, calcium in form of the milk, right? Green leafy vegetables, cheese to some extent, not in excess, iron supplements anyway you'll be taking, but also eat the fruits and the dry fruits that will help you to improve the iron. Apple and so are a good source of iron. Spinach in terms of vegetable is also good source of iron. Copper, zinc in lower quantity is also required. So all this kind of food, I mean, have a blend of all this food in your diet in a week basis. So that will provide you a good nutritional component to produce enough amount of milk. And of course, once you cross 6 months, then definitely you are slowly introducing supplementary food to your child. So that time your breastfeeding requirement will reduce, but do continue breastfeeding as long as you are producing the milk. That may go up to 2 years or more than that also. But slowly try to introduce also supplementary food to your child after 6 months or after 5.5 months. Ideally stick more closer towards 6 months, because by that time the digestive system of the child is also comparatively well developed. So along with these food habits, as I said before, do take your supplements like multivitamins, B12, D supplements, omega 3, DHA, fatty acid, which is very important because this helps for also, because this gets introduced in your milk and through milk it is going to the child, and that helps for a good brain development of your child. Also drink plenty of water. As I said, keeping yourself well hydrated is a must in this scenario, and it will help you to overcome many of the problems. So this was a small session on how to sustain a breastfeeding. So to summarize, we have seen how your milk production takes place. We have seen how a proper latching has to be established, how what are the different positions that you can try for feeding. We have further seen what are the challenges that you may come across in the feeding process and how to overcome them in an easy way in a home remedy method. We have further seen what diet you should take in order to ensure that your milk production remains intact. And I would advise all the mothers to continue breastfeeding as long as they can produce the milk. Doing breastfeeding has multiple benefits to you as a mother. To list down some of them, it will help you to get your hormonal levels after pregnancy back in the right phase in a much easier way. It reduces your chances of getting breast cancer. It helps you also to improve your metabolic activities, and in that process you tend to also lose the extra weight that you have gained in the pregnancy and so on. So there are multiple benefits of doing breastfeeding, and of course your child is getting benefited the most by providing all the good nutritional food plus good amount of antibodies and less problems, because when you are doing a breastfeeding, the breast milk is very easy to digest compared to formulated milk, and as such there are chances that your child will have very less problems related to the gastric issues and so on. So with this so much benefits to mother as well as child, I encourage all of you to continue breastfeeding right from day one till the day that you are producing them. Thank you everyone for this